Hello everybody and welcome back to the Cabbage Files. I am the Cabbage Warrior and this is Pokemon Go Praises and Gripes. And this one I'm going to do and go through Pokemon Go. It's been out for about a week and a half roughly now. And if you haven't seen it, I hope you haven't been living under a rock. If you have seen it and haven't played it yet, if you're interested, go play it. If you're not interested, then that's your choice. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through Pokemon Go and I'm going to list off my gripes with the game and my praises for the game. And at the very end, I will then give my opinion on the game itself and go from there. So, to start off, I'm going to go with the gripes. And these are going to be from what I feel are the smallest gripes, the ones that don't make the biggest difference per se, to the largest gripe, the biggest, most glaring flaw and elephant in the room to do with it. So, that being said, we're gonna get right on into the gripes here, and the first one that I have is unresolved bugs and issues, and this one has the smallest importance, or at least the least of them, the least frustrating of them, because bugs are an inevitability of software design and development. So it's going to happen, and bugs will happen all the time. So that being said, some of the bugs that I've encountered have been stuff like egg hatching distance. I've had to walk yesterday up to 400 meters past the required distance to hatch an egg before. Now, granted, rebooting that did fix that and make it so the egg hatched, but for some reason it seems like there's something going on where that flag does not get set properly currently, or it's lagged behind getting set. So if you encounter that, just reboot and it should fix it. These next two are also related, and they're pretty recent. Is the nearby Pokemon radar, and the fact that the Pokemon are inaccurate and the distances are inaccurate. Now, between the two, the nearby Pokemon being inaccurate is not the biggest issue, because you can always figure out which ones are right and which ones are wrong, but depending on which ones actually show up when you tap on them, which is something else I'll get to later on down this list. The nearby distance, though, is a big gripe. Everything is stuck currently at three paw prints underneath it for everybody, and that needs to be fixed because it just doesn't gel right. But it's not just that either. This whole nearby distance thing, there's really no set distance that is confirmed out there for how far you actually need to go to encounter those Pokemon. I've seen tell that one paw print is about 100 meters, but I haven't seen anything officially confirming this at all. And just like I've seen rumors that the circle around your avatar in the game itself is 40 meters, but yet again there's no official documentation to prove this, so that one just lies more under a documentation issue, because one would think that is something that should be put out into the general public. Like, how close do we need to actually be to them? When we're looking at the nearby Pokemon radar, how far away are certain paw prints, so we know roughly how far we need to walk. And even still, I've seen that some say it doesn't matter which direction you walk in, as long as you walk that certain distance to get to that Pokemon. But I've seen it where even if you walk that distance in any direction, you end up walking away from them. So distance does matter, and this is my suggestion currently to probably fix that as well, is maybe have some sort of device that, and it could be maybe put in as a level up reward or something, that allows you to display underneath the radar which direction you need to go in order to encounter that Pokemon. Because not knowing which direction you're going and you have to kind of blindly fumble around looking for stuff is, quite frankly, it's unsafe a little bit. It's a little bit unsafe because you get people who, and yes, this is on them, they don't pay attention to what they're doing and end up getting injured. They walk off a cliff, they walk into traffic or whatnot, and that's a big problem. It creates bad press, which in turn fuels a lot of the sentiments against the game itself. And I think that having the ability to see which direction you need to travel, it would be a really good way to resolve that issue. And it doesn't need to be anything real super accurate, like you need to go north by northwest or northwest to get here or anything like that. You know, make the compass a little bit clearer, actually have north, south, east, west labeled on there, and just put underneath maybe north, go east, go south, go west, and on underneath them, and then let the players figure out as far as what relative to where they are at, the direction that they need to actually go. So that all has to do with distance and the nearby Pokemon radar. Then you've got the one that I've experienced a few times yesterday: random errors during capture. Dear Lord, I had a couple Pokemon appear on the map for me to capture, and I went to capture it, and then I get them in the Pokeball, and then the battle just ends, and then an error pops down. What the fuck? What the actual hell? I mean, come on. You know, how did that get through you guys? Shouldn't you be testing this stuff really thoroughly before you actually push this stuff out? Like, that's something that is a core mechanic, and you broke it in random cases. So that's an issue. Or this one, the battery saver. And to their credit, they are working on the battery saver. It doesn't do a whole hell of a lot. I can have it on battery saver, walk around for 10 minutes and lose 30% battery. It doesn't do a whole hell of a lot. I don't know what they were thinking with it. And to their credit, again, they are working on fixing that and working on better ways to control battery consumption. So that one is really tiny comparatively. But this one as well is something that really gripes me is, while charging, I've had the battery drain while the app has been up. It drains the battery too fast for the charger to keep up. That is a huge issue, and yet again, that's probably more related to the power consumption issue, and something that, to their credit, they are working on. But geez, shouldn't you have had this figured out before you released the app, instead of trying to figure it out on the fly? Like, that's actually a pretty major issue. If a charger can't keep up with how fast the battery is draining, then you have an issue with heavy power consumption, and that should have been figured out before you launched. And another issue, and this is something, it's not really a bug, but it's definitely an issue, and it's something that they could address, is the memory footprint is really heavy. I actually looked at my RAM usage when the app was idling, and just idling alone and I did this comparison between with the augmented reality and capture on and with it off. And with augmented reality on, it takes up 542 megabytes just sitting idle, not doing anything, just sitting idle, and almost 500 megabytes with augmented reality off. Holy hell. That is a lot of memory on a cell phone. Most cell phones, they're coming out with more RAM these days, but they also need to be able to run through the RAM and be able to get system processes into the RAM. And when you're taking up almost a half a gig of RAM just with one app, that is a huge issue. The memory footprint itself, the whole app needs to be re-optimized to bring the memory footprint down, so that way it's not taking up so much RAM while it's idling. That's, oh my gosh. I mean, you could have this optimized to run on 1 gig of RAM if you actually re-optimize it and slimmed it down more. I can't really say how you would do that. I don't know the code for that. But I would imagine that there is a way to optimize the app so that way it has a smaller memory footprint and is not taking up so much RAM when it's idling, when you're not just doing anything at all. So that is just wow. And this next one is a much bigger issue, and it's something that could go into the unresolved issues, but I figure it's large enough to warrant being its own issue on the list. Random client freezes. There's nothing more frustrating than to go out and try to capture a Pokemon only to have the app completely lock up and not even play any of the animation, just completely lock up with the music playing, or the music will just stop playing, and then you have to actually reboot the app to make it work. And that is frustrating, and I've seen this happen when I've been trying to capture Pokemon, and I've had it happen coming out of Battery Saver. And the Battery Saver issue is an issue where if you go into it and come out of it too quickly, it can cause the app to freeze up where you can't interact with anything, or it'll just randomly freeze coming out of Battery Saver, and you can't interact with anything. You can't turn the map, you can't interact with any of the buttons on the HUD at all. And that's, oh my gosh, what the hell is the problem? Why is it freezing up? That needs to be fixed. So, but then that brings me to the biggest issue, and everybody already knows what the biggest complaint is already. It's its own freaking meme right now. The server. Do I need to say anything more? I have not seen an online game that has had more server downtime since release than this game right here. That is just... When you release an online game, players expect that the server infrastructure is there to be able to be stable. Now, I'm going to say this, benefit of the doubt, I'm not going to be too harsh on this one, because on release in Australia, there were people using APKs on Android or using other methods on, say, an iPhone to bypass the region restrictions to download the app from the Google Play Store and the iTunes App Store. So to their credit, that's something that Niantic didn't really foresee, or probably could not do anything about. So to their credit, that is, there's not much they could have done about that. But they should have taken those lessons that they learned from stress testing in Australia on the first release and applied it to the US. But no, doesn't seem like they did, because the first few days or so, it was still really unstable on the server after it was launched. And then again yesterday when they released it in Canada, the server was unstable all day. And that is a huge issue. When you can't keep the server stable on release days, that's a problem. You have an online game, your bread and butter is players being able to get to the server. And when the server is unstable so much in the small amount of time that it's been since release, that's a huge issue. And you've already seen it. Everybody knows about it because it's a freaking meme already. The fact that the server is down so much, and it's a huge issue. And hopefully Niantic is working on fixing it. And if they do, excellent. Kudos to you, Niantic, because the server infrastructure should have been the very first thing that was completely dialed in before release, and the fact that they have to keep adjusting the servers after release, it's a little bit off-putting to a lot of people, because when they see that people have so much trouble signing in, they're like, well, I'm not going to be able to get in because the servers are down. What the hell? I mean, come on, I want to play this game. So it gets a little off-putting. Eventually people get in, but server stability has been the biggest issue that this game has had since release. All other bugs and issues aside, the server has been the biggest issue for everybody, and hopefully it will get more stable going forward. I don't know. I really, really hope so, because I'm enjoying this game. That being said, go off of what they've already done wrong, put those behind us, and now let's look at, well, what did they do right with this game? Well, for starters, it's innovative. And when I say innovative, I mean the fact that it's only the second augmented reality game on the market. The first being developed as well by Niantic, called Ingress, and supposedly some of the portals from that game were ported over to the Pokemon Go server to create the Pokestops. I haven't seen anything official confirming this, but it does seem likely. I've never played Ingress. I don't really plan to, because quite frankly I'm addicted to Pokemon Go, and I would rather invest time in playing that versus trying to split my attention when walking between two games that require walking and going places. But it's innovative. It's a whole new concept. Augmented reality is such a cool new feature. I mean, we're talking going from just straight immersive games that you play on your TV. Now we've got virtual reality with the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive, to now we've got augmented reality where they're able to superimpose images using your device's camera to make it feel like you are actually in that world, and it is amazing. That is very innovative, and I would love to see more augmented reality games on the market in the future, because augmented reality is such an awesome concept. And another thing that they did right, the interface. Look at the interface. Just look at this. It is clean. It is logically laid out. You've got your compass in the top right corner. You've got your nearby Pokemon radar in the bottom right. In the middle, you've got your menu button, and over to the left, to the bottom left, you've got your player stats. You can see your medals and your journal, how much experience you have to go before you attain the next level. It's nice and clean. It's crisp. Even if you don't know what everything does, quickly tapping everything, you can figure out really quickly where you need to go to get to certain things. Like, if you're new, you can, oh hey, I'll click the Pokeball. Hey look, it's the menu. Okay, so I click the Pokeball, I get the menu. I can see the shop, I can see my Pokedex, I can get to my bag, I can get to my Pokemon and eggs, and I can get to tips, settings, and all that up in the, it's a nice, clean layout. It looks awesome, and it looks crisp. The overworld, using the minimalistic graphics to reduce the amount of drawing. You're not having to toggle between a satellite image with full detail and a kind of a composite Google Maps image where it's trying to load some detail, specifically more road names. It's just minimalistic. It's drawing the roads in, it's drawing the buildings in, but that's it. And it still looks awesome. And I gotta say, it's a nice interface. Kudos on the interface. The other thing that is good about this game and has been done right, and this is something that Niantic really couldn't control, but still they get kudos for it, is the social impact. What game have you seen lately that has had such a social impact as Pokemon Go, where it's actually getting people out and socializing? People are making new friends. I saw a story of a mother whose child has autism, or something on the autism spectrum of disorders, and normally kids, and this is not in general, all people with autism have this, but normally with autism, you have a very regimented schedule, and she was gushing about how her child was willing to break their regimented schedule to go capture Pokemon, and she was gushing about how all these random strangers were freely offering tips to her child and helping them to get the hang of the game and to find Pokemon. And that is what we need more in this world. Is we need more togetherness, more social interaction, and this is getting people to do this, and it's awesome. The social impact cannot be understated. I mean, I saw a video of the large crowd at the Santa Monica Pier, and oh my gosh, that is a lot of people just in one area, just playing one game. I have not seen any game do that where it just gets so many people out to one area. And then you've got the businesses who have Pokestops nearby taking advantage of those Pokestops to try to bring customers in. It's creating a nice winning atmosphere for everybody, and it's awesome. And granted, that's not something that Niantic could control, but they picked, when doing this augmented reality, they picked the right concept. They picked the right franchise with which to do this, and that right there is amazing. And the final thing that they've done right, the mechanics. The mechanics are awesome, and I mean, just from the capture to the way that you have to walk to hatch eggs, and they try to keep it in keeping with the original games, and that is awesome. And it's really cool how they're doing it, and I've seen articles, and I don't know how much of this is officially confirmed, that they are planning on adding like actual battling and trading between players without having to battling without having to go to a gym between players, and actually being able to trade other players to get different Pokemon. And that is awesome. And I gotta say, kudos. Like, the fact that with the capture system, you have to be accurate with your throw. If you go too much, it goes over, or it can go to one side or the other. You have to do it just right to be able to hit them. And the whole thing where with some of them you have to actually feed them a bit of a snack and calm them down a little bit to make it easier. The mechanics are just amazing, and that's just that. It's overall the whole game itself is very well made. So getting into my personal opinion of this, and all this has been my personal observations. Now, none of this is just by all means taken from everybody, or rather a lot of this isn't taken from everybody in general. It's things that I have personally experienced and observed, and you can disagree or you can agree. That's perfectly fine. You've got your opinion, I've got my opinion. So that being said, my final opinion on this is it's a very good game. I would rate it 4.5 cabbage out of 5, because there's still room for improvement, as you saw with the gripes and the issues that I had with it and everything. But in my honest opinion, the phrases, the things that they have done right outweigh the things that are wrong currently, that I feel it is worth a 4.5 out of 5 cabbages. And that is awesome. And just, I can't say enough good things about this game, to be honest. It's just an amazing game. So that being said, if I missed any gripes or anything that they have done right, feel free to drop it in the comments below, and I will take a look at that. And thank you all so much for watching. If you like this, hit that like button. If you'd like to see more, hit subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.